teaching during remote learning and the pandemic has sort of fast-tracked my creative thinking and challenged me to be really flexible about what constitutes learning.
So these are definitely different times, and we've been going through so many changes. I was wondering, how do you guys think remote learning has shaped your views of learning and teaching? Like,
yeah, I might jump in and steal that one.
Yeah.
I think these first few years for us as teachers are really, really formative times, and this has just been one extra thing for us to think about. And the sort of profound impact it's had on my views of teaching and learning is that I've become much more flexible in what I label as learning. And because I think when I'm in my music classroom, for example, it can be easy to fall into the routine and the safety. You know, I've got my piano there, I've got my instruments there, here's a musical concept, let's explore it. But that's not possible remotely. Students don't have instruments. Sometimes their parents might not be comfortable helping them with musical concepts. So I've had to develop some really out-of-the-box home-based activities. And so, you know, my students are outside in nature, listening and learning about musical concepts in nature. They're doing music science experiments. They're building their own instruments. And I think these have been really, really successful because they're still covering the curriculum points I would in the classroom, but they're doing so in a way that music becomes less abstract and music is linked to the real world. And I think I might have got to those points, but just at a later time. So teaching during remote learning and the pandemic has sort of fast-tracked my creative thinking and challenged me to be really flexible about what constitutes learning. So now I'm thinking about how I can incorporate these back into my classroom. I might throw this one back to you, Caitriona, put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, I think one thing that's interesting to come out of this is it's nice for parents to see what their children are learning, like quite explicitly. And although, you know, it will be good to be back in the classroom. So that's one thing I think is interesting. Another thing is that I think there's been even more of a focus on growth and not so much achieving certain levels at a whole year level range. I think that's also because they're at home and suddenly, you know, their learning environment has changed, so their learning needs have changed as well. And they might not have access to all the same things they have in their home, like you said as well, with music, as other students as well, or what they have at school. So I think it's important to think about, okay, what's this student's next step? What do we need to focus on them? Because it's definitely changed to when they were in the classroom. And I think finally as well, I think that this remote learning period has really gone to show how adaptable and flexible school can be. And I think we've been able to set up the foundations and skills for a whole new learning environment. And it will be interesting to see how much of it we bring back to our classroom when the time comes. How about you, Linda? What do you think?
Well, Caitriona, I think you and Blake touched on really good points. I might start with Blake's idea of flexibility. I think that's so important. And then when you mentioned parents getting to see what their children are doing, that kind of sprung the idea of relationships and partnerships into my mind. And what I have really gotten from this is the idea that learning and teaching is a partnership with teachers and students, right? So we need to have patience, we need to have understanding, and we need to understand that the support that we can give these kids sometimes goes beyond the curriculum. We need to be flexible, like Blake said, and really think that, okay, during times of the week or, you know, certain moments of the day, we might need to go above and beyond to help our students. It's not always, but sometimes that little bit of extra effort really makes a big difference. And then I guess for me, more importantly, is that at this stage, we need to see past the academic side of learning. Not always, but sometimes it's really good just to appreciate what our students know and then say, hey, you've actually taught me something today. I'm learning from you.